This is episode 29 with Zach Horvath.
Welcome to the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast, the show that empowers you to become the hero of your life's journey. With your host, Brian Tier.
Hey guys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast. Episode 29 this week, and I am very excited to be speaking to a new friend of mine, Zach Horvath. Now, Zach Horvath is the founder of Live a Great Story, which is a brand building a community of people focused on spreading inspiration and doing what we do best, better. His inspiration for Live started with a one-way, open-ended trip to Europe that ended up becoming 7 months. During that time, he met some amazing people from all around the world, from all different backgrounds, ages, sexes, views, and directions. And he realized that we're all just trying to figure out our own path despite these differences, focuses, languages, and everything else that makes us different. After returning from this trip, Zach was struggling to find a creative marketing or branding job and spray painted a big Live a Great Story on a wall in San Diego. It took off on Instagram with hashtag Live a Great Story and has since evolved into the massive beast that it is today. With a focus on media and sharing stories of people or brands who are making a difference, Live is also has an awesome reminder product section consisting of stickers, badges, mugs, shirts, and a whole lot more. To date, they've distributed over 30,000 stickers, 10,000 buttons, and reached hundreds of thousands of people all across the world. Now, Zach was also kind enough to offer 25% off of your purchase to all listeners of the Quarter Life Comeback podcast. And you can take advantage of that simply by using the checkout code QLC when checking out. Now, in this episode, you're going to learn why you don't need to learn more before making a difference, why Zach decided to stop traveling, how to figure out your mission when all the personality tests don't help, when to quit or when to keep pushing an idea, tips for starting your own social movement, and 3 ways for living a great story. As usual, you can get the links and resources we mentioned in this episode at the show notes, and you'll find those at briantier.com/029. But for now, let's go hang out with Zach. Welcome back, everyone, and a big welcome to today's guest. I'm speaking to Zach Horvath. Zach, thanks for coming to the Quarter Life Comeback.
Super excited to be on here, Brian. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, Zach, we connected after my interview with Matt Trinetti, and he said, there's this really cool guy with a cool story, or a great story, that I think you should be interviewing. And I looked up what you were doing, and I really dug it. So for people listening in, why don't you start by telling us who is Zach Horvath and a bit about your quarter life journey?
Absolutely. So I guess the latest chapter of my journey, or kind of the beginning of Live a Great Story, and a little bit about Matt Trinetti as well. I always was kind of an entrepreneur and a creative type doer. So I always decided that I wanted to kind of make my own path and craft my own journey. And so I actually went to go travel. I didn't go to school, and I decided that I was just going to learn from life and starting things and trying to figure it all out by myself, and instead of reading it in a book. And so I went to go travel in Europe after a couple of years of working. And at that time, I really just, was, I guess, blessed with the opportunity to meet so many amazing people from around the world, and just, people from different backgrounds and, different journeys and experiences, and old, young, like all different colors, and just like people and being able to genuinely connect with them and listen and talk and get questioned and do the questioning. And I really just learned that, we're all just people doing our own thing. And as long as, we're on that path for ourselves and trying to figure it out, which is pretty much an eternal journey, the better that we get at that, and like the better that we align with who we are and what we want to do and why we're here, the more that inspires the people around us. And so after traveling for about 7 months, I came back to the U.S. and now I guess there's some steps in between there, but now I live out here in San Diego, and I'm building a brand called Live a Great Story, which is basically all about spreading inspiration and kind of going back to that idea that we're all just people. We just want to inspire as a brand. We just want to inspire people to do what they're doing better and to build a community of people that, want to pass that along and pay it forward and contribute to this awesome community and the way that we can inspire each other forward. And instead of all the divisiveness and separation and, color of your skin or, what's your race or your religious background or political affiliation, all the things that, people try to separate us, we've got to remember that we're all just the same people. We're all just humans trying to do the best that we can while we're here. And why not try to do that together and inspire each other to do the best that we can?
I love it, man. Now, something that you mentioned is that you didn't go to school, and I'm guessing you mean like college or university after high school. But do you think sometimes people are too quick to think that they need to learn more or have more knowledge before they go out there and make a difference?
I think anybody can make a difference, and it's really just a choice. I mean, I think we all have that in ourselves, and it's really hard to know that. And I think even, I'm 26 years old and I only have a small glimpse of that, but I think that it's a journey for ourselves to just continually make that decision to, what do you want to do? Like, just make that decision every day. Like, I want to be a writer, like write every day. I want to, be nice to people. I want to make a difference in my neighborhood. It's just like, try to do that stuff every day. And you don't have to have accolades or a ton of experience or, any criteria. I think it's just a personal decision to keep following that and making that decision every day again and again. And, slowly you become more and more, that becomes more and more ingrained in who you are. And that's how it's done. I don't think it's so much that you like accomplish it all of a sudden and now I can go do this. It's always this continually evolving journey.
That's awesome, dude. No, I'd just be curious to find out, why was it that you decided to go travel for 7 months? And do you think this is something for everyone?
Yeah, man. First of all, absolutely. I think that's one of the things I've talked to a lot of people just in general. And, a lot of people ask, what can I do? What's the best thing that you did? What are, what's your suggestions for, living a great story or, so I have a lot of these conversations and, one of my go-to answers is just buy a plane ticket. I think it's so crucial that, we live in this amazing time where you can get a plane ticket for so cheap in the grand scheme of things. And like, you can go to another country and meet other people from around the world and totally different circumstances with totally different, set of values or beliefs or history. And I think that's such a key part to a full life, because you got to know what else is out there. I think that's a big part, and we have it's really easy for us to do that in this time in history. So I think it's definitely clutch. And for me, the way that I really did it was I actually, looking back, I definitely have like a very travel oriented family. So I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then when I was 4 or 5, I actually moved to Hungary. So I lived in Hungary for about 4 or 5 years. And I ended up, my youngest sister was born there. All my sisters, we pretty much learned how to read and write Hungarian before English. And so from and once you're in Europe, obviously it's way easier to travel everywhere. So even in a super young age, I pretty much was like flying back and forth from Hungary to the US or around Europe and kind of making trips. And so I've always kind of had that desire and that wanderlust kind of built in. And so for me, the trip to Europe was like, it was one of those things where I just knew I had to do it. I couldn't not go. And I knew that it was one of those decisions that I just had to make and follow through with. And so I didn't start out with a long 7-month trip plan. It started out as kind of like a month. And then I figured out that I could stay there a little bit longer. And if I went back to Hungary, I could get my passport. So I could stay there more than the visa would allow me to for the typical 3 months. Mm-hmm. And so the trip kind of just kept evolving. And eventually I was like, I'm just going. I don't know what's going to happen. I just bought a one-way ticket and just kind of let it all evolve as it should. And I had more plans to keep traveling after Europe. I wanted to, continue on the road, but I just realized that that one of those things for me, it was like, I needed to do something. Traveling is really fun. Mm-hmm. But after a while, when it's your life, it's kind of, you're not traveling anymore. You're just kind of like living on the road, and there's certain restrictions that come with that. And so for me, I really wanted to build something or like make an impact and like continue growing professionally and like skills and more focused growth instead of more just flexible and travel oriented growth and like worldly growth. And so, I made the decision to come back after about 7 months to take that next step. And at the time I really had no idea what it was, but I knew that I had to come home to the States to figure it out.
Yeah, I love that you say that you had no idea what that was. But just what you said now about the different worldly growth and sort of wanting to build something, it echoes something that one of my mentors told me when I met up with him. And I've actually interviewed him in a prior episode. I think it was episode 5, because I also had plans to do some pretty large scale traveling. And he said to me, you need to decide if you, at a time where you're looking for experience and sort of exploration, or if you want to build something, which is exactly what you just mentioned there. And you probably could do them both at the same time. But for me, I also, like you, I decided I wanted to focus on creating something. And so that's where we are today.
Who was it that said
that? His name is Simon Hurry.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'll link it in the show notes, but he's big into StrengthsFinder and like using our natural strengths to, for happiness and that sort of thing.
Nice.
So Zach, you mentioned when we chatted via email before this that Live, and we'll get to Live in just a second, but you mentioned that it's been intertwined with kind of your own personal journey and development. I wonder if you could share a bit about that with us and sort of that personal process that you've gone through and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. They are very heavily intertwined, and I think it's important. I never really knew what I wanted to do. I took a lot of aptitude tests. I took, job testing. What are you interested in? What are your skills? StrengthsFinder, a lot of that stuff. From a pretty young age, I was always, very in that world of like continuing growth and learning but I never knew what it looked like. I never knew what my dream job looked like, or I never knew what all these things, like what am I really, where do I flow? Where's my like one thing that time just flies by when I'm doing it? And it was really hard for me to pinpoint all of those because I kind of have a shiny object syndrome where I get really interested in stuff, but then I also get distracted and so pretty much from about 17 years, from when I was about 17 on, I was always trying stuff. I was doing things. And whether it was, I started a clothing company in high school was my first thing. And then, that turned into blogging and multi-level marketing and writing and video and sales and, all these different areas and trying to build stuff and just really trial and error my way through what I was like really interested in, because I could never pinpoint it. And I was always very interested in multiple things or, kind of a jack of all trades. And so I just did stuff because it interested me and I did it pretty hard. And I definitely think that I cut off a lot of things too soon. I would, like I said, I have shiny object syndrome. So I would just kind of be like working on something really hard and then it wouldn't work out quite like I expected. So I kind of step back and, not keep pushing on it. And so it really took, but, in hindsight, I have a resume filled with a bunch of failures and, but now that's all come together. The cool part is that all of those 10 years of experience have really come together at Live a Great Story. So over a 10-year period of trying so many different things and developing all these semi-random skills the cool part is that a decade or so later, it all comes together at this pinnacle for Live. So whether it's the marketing aspect of Live a Great Story and the street marketing with the wheat pasting or the stickers and the buttons, or the production side of, shirts and hats and all the production side, or kind of like the more media side of it and producing videos and sharing stories about people. It's all things that I've done in certain capacities over 10 years that, I just kept pushing, and the puzzle pieces kind of fell into place for it all to work out at this one thing. And I feel very grateful for that, because I was, for a long time, I was like, I'd start something and I'd quit. I'd start something and I'd quit, or I'd be really interested in this, or, and I was just kind of floating. And then for it all to come together and just kind of like work out so well, it just interwove like this whole decade of life experiences and then you throw in the travel aspect of the people and like why we're doing what we're doing. And it just kind of evolved so organically in hindsight, but moving forward, you can never really see that. It's always, I think you just have to, I was on the phone with my friend today. I was like, you just got to trust that it's all going to work out, and like do the best that you can now, so that it, and just hope and know like deep down that things are going to be okay, and that it's going to work out for the best. And then you can look back in hindsight and see it all, but you can't project it.
Dude, there's so much goodness in there. One of the things that really stood out for me was how you said, and you just kind of rocked it. You were like, I now have a resume full of failures. And I think that's probably one of the biggest thing that keeps people back, is worrying like, yeah, but what if this doesn't work out? But those things have all kind of informed you and guided you to what you're creating now. So yeah, that was really, really gold. And one thing I wanted to ask, and you're probably perfectly positioned to answer this now, is you said you cut some things off too soon. So how do we know when is a good time to quit and when we should keep pushing on with like an idea or a project that we're working on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's two parts of it. There's the more intangible aspect, and like the feelings and the stuff that you can't really put a finger on, and then there's also the more tangible, I guess, analytical aspect of it. And so, I think if you also got to figure out why are you building a business? If you're building a business, then you have to, the goal is to like make money. And so, if you're not doing stuff right and you're trying and like, if it's not working, then I think there's a time to like re-examine what you're doing and like why it's not working. But then there's also like the other part of it where you just kind of feel it and know it, and the universe kind of, for me, I'll give an example. So there's been a lot of times, Live a Great Story is just over 2 years old at this point. So it's still fairly new in life. And there was a lot of times that I felt that I was just, it wasn't it, like I was doing really well, but I just kept coming up to these really big obstacles, and I would get really down on myself, and it was hard, right? Like that's the life of business, and it's always ups and downs, and it's really difficult to, walk that journey as an entrepreneur. But I would get super down and depressed and just, really sad about something not working out, or something just going really slowly, or all these things. And I'd have like a bad day or two. And it was always amazing, because that's when I would get this incredible feedback from our community. And like, it always seems like it comes at the right time when I'm like down in the dumps, just like so low. And someone writes that email and they're like, hey, like I saw your sticker in this city and I just really connected with it. And then, I'm going through this rough time in my life and it really just impacted me. Or, I saw this in this city and then I was in this city and I met this guy, he had the shirt on and he was telling me about it. Or, all these like really amazing responses. And it would come, they seem to come at the depths when everything's like really, really down. And so, I think that's like more on that intangible aspect side, where it's like, there's not really numbers to equate that, right? Like you can't quantify that with analytics, but you just feel it. And I think there's the two parts of it where it's like, maybe this isn't working out because the sales or this and that, or maybe you just know that like deep down, like this is where it's at and you're just not there yet. You can't put a finger on it. Everybody else is telling you this is not going to work. This is not that, but you just feel it deep down that like, this is it. And, so I think balancing those two sides of the coin is really difficult. And, but once again, it's always going to work out. Maybe it's not the big thing and maybe you bailed too soon on something, but there's always next steps and you just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, cool. Now, Zach, I want to get into Live now. So for people listening, what is Live a Great Story? How did it come about? And just tell us about the brand.
Live a Great Story is a brand on the foundation all about spreading inspiration. So we really just want to inspire people to do what they're doing better. And it really boils down to three different aspects. The media section. So we share a lot of content about people, about cool stories, about inspiring organizations or businesses or artists, and just, generally inspiring content, whether it's video or like written, about people, so that you can look at that person and say, maybe they're in their own lane, they're doing this, and I don't want to do that, but I'm stoked that they're doing it, that they're really crushing it in their field. That inspires me in my field. So that's kind of the idea, is we just want to inspire people to keep going, and we don't know what that is for you, and it's different for everybody. So we share just widely inspiring content, just good stuff, and most of it's self-produced. So we produce a lot of our own content, whether it's the videos or the stories. But we also curate stuff from other people's communities, so sharing other content from other kind of partners. And so then we have what we call our reminder product section. So it's, they're just reminders. Keep your head up, keep going, and they act as sparks of connection. So whether it's a shirt or a hat or a sticker on the back of your phone or a magnet on your car or whatever, that's our product section. And that's where all the magic happens. I think it's really cool when those connectors, like those reminders, they're just magic. It's crazy. Like they just spread all around the world, and the impact that they have is so simple, but so profound. And then the third part of the brand is the event section. So we really just want to bring people together in real life so we can, surround them with other people that are inspiring or doing cool things. And when you can get people in the same space, like connected, touching in the same room, then really cool stuff can happen. And so we like to do that kind of as a third leg of the tripod.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds so cool, man. And I'll obviously link up all the links to Live a Great Story in the show notes. Something that comes up for me is the idea with Live is to sort of spread inspiration and stories of people doing cool things. Did you ever face people who said like, well, how will you make money from that? Or like, how are you going to make that a business?
Yeah, it's really hard to explain it to people because it's so simple. Like on the foundation, it's such a simple idea. It's like, we just want to inspire people. And then people are like, well, like, how about this? Or like, how are you doing this? And what about this? And like, I don't get it. And so all the time people, don't quite understand all of it. And it's a little bit confusing to explain to people just because we're kind of like, we're still all over the place. I mean, we're doing like 3 different things that are all like kind of different, and you got to explain it. And then they're like, they don't understand how the internet works. And like, they're like, we're just building an online community of inspiration. And they're like, yeah, definitely people don't quite understand it sometimes, but yeah, like for a long time, we were just kind of selling shirts and doing stuff like that. And it started really small. And for a long time, it was just stickers and buttons, and we were just passing them out and seeing what happened. And it really, from where Live a Great Story started 2 years ago to now, it's definitely flowed, to where it's become. So in the beginning, we totally didn't understand where it could go, and just had that, intuition that we're onto something. And so, just let it evolve as it should. And that turned from stickers and buttons. People said, put it on a shirt, put it on a hat. You should make coffee mugs. You should make patches. You should make bigger stickers, just kind of evolved. And people said, well, you should do this or you should do that. And we kind of looked at all these things and figured out where it all worked out, where it didn't. And over 2 years kind of evolved super organically to become where it is now, which is a pretty solid stand on what we're doing.
Yeah, and it's a pretty, I mean, you hear it all the time from like online entrepreneurs, right? It's just listen to your audience and create what it is that they're asking you for. So it's kind of simple, really.
Yeah, it's simple, and it's like ask the people that are hanging out with you what they want, and they'll tell you, and then you got to kind of dig a little bit deeper and figure out exactly how it all works. But I think the community aspect is huge, and we're lucky to have such an amazing people. Today we did an event in Miami. So some of our community in Miami decided they wanted to host a photography scavenger hunt. And we had done one about a year ago, maybe a little bit more now in Miami. And so now we did another one, and a bunch of people came out and they toured around Miami, took a bunch of pictures of the city and kind of told this, it was called The Story of Miami. So they kind of told a story through landmarks. But we got a bunch of people out together in the world, walking around, shooting and hanging out with each other. And it was because of our community. They did it all. Like, we just sent them some shirts and some gear to pass out and a bunch of stickers. But, IGers Miami, shout out to everybody over there. They did a great job of just bringing people together. And that's what we want to do on that event side, just act as a medium to like connect people.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So if there are people listening to this and they're wanting to start their own sort of social movement or social media movement or anything like that, like, what would your tips be for someone wanting to start something like that?
Start it, for one. Just start doing it and start it. Just go. Just start walking. If you obviously have an idea of some sort, just start and see what happens. I think that's the biggest part, is people tend to overanalyze things and, analysis paralysis. And it's really, once you get going, if you have that obstacle, then you're going to always find another way to like stop yourself. But just start doing things, and like the road kind of presents itself. You don't know exactly where you're going to go, but if you have a name, you have an idea, just get it out there and let it evolve and do your best. I mean, it should be fun. I don't think you start a social movement with it not being fun. So there should be kind of a foundation for what you're trying to do, and the road evolves. And then within that, you find out a lot of the specific things, like the website. How do you buy a website? How do you trademark something? How do you, all the like the business aspect and like the online marketing stuff, and how do you source clothes, and all the different things come up. And I don't think those ever stop. I think we always are learning more about how to do better business and how to, overcome those obstacles that we each face in our own businesses. But that happens. You can't forecast that either. I think there's so much stuff that I've learned that I had no idea that I was going to have to deal with. But I wouldn't have ever known that unless I started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, often that's my biggest tip to people, is like, just take the smallest first step you can and just go from there. Zach, based on your own personal journey and the brand and stories you've covered from people living their own great stories, what would be, let's say, like 1 to 3 tips that you would have for people to live a great story?
So the 2 things I was saying, one of them is buy a plane ticket. That's one of my go-tos. Another one was similar to what you just said. I phrase it as do things. Just go out and do stuff, and like do it. If it interests you, like just go out there. Like I said, if you want to be a photographer, like get a camera and shoot and learn and just immerse yourself in it. Or you want to travel, then just go get lost in your neighborhood, or go walk around another city that's close by, or just if you want to, whatever you want to do, just do it. And I think that once again, it's that like analysis thing where people are like, oh, I don't know how to do this, or I don't, just talk to people that have done it, or just, read about it or learn or research it, but just do it. And that's a huge step. Once you get that snowball rolling, it gathers steam, and it's really easy to think and overthink it, and worry about what other people are going to think about you doing that or whatever. I think a big part is just doing it. Just do things. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it, and just go. And there's not a failure because you're just doing it, and there's not really anything on the line, and just keep going and keep learning, and it's going to work out. So I think those are the two things. I always say do things and buy a plane ticket for and then get uncomfortable. You got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to be scared. You got to be in positions that frighten you, that are new, that you're not sure what's going to happen. You got to seek that out. And we don't live. Great stories aren't really created in your comfort zone. It's when you step out of that. It's when you really push those boundaries and you get uncomfortable that that's where the good stuff happens. And it's not easy by any means. And maybe you get comfortable in some areas and you're pushing towards uncomfortable in other areas. But that's where the growth is. The fruit's out on the limb.
I love it, man. Right. Zach, I do want to be mindful of the time, but I just want to get through some final questions here. And we can treat these as kind of like quick fire, rapid fire, whatever you like. What is something you wish you'd been told earlier in your 20s?
That's a good one. I had an answer for this. I was just thinking about it.
It's easy, like normally I ask people, what do you wish you'd been told in your 20s? But you're still like right in the middle. So,
oh man, I've been thinking a lot about this now on my spot, because I was thinking about going back in like a few years ago what I would suggest. I was hanging out with some people and I was thinking about it. Give me a second. Let me come back to that one.
Cool. All
right. I gotta think about it.
What do you think is the greatest opportunity for quarter lifers today?
There's so much opportunity for quarter lifers and for all of us. I mean, we can do whatever we want, and I think there's just infinite opportunity to really zero in on not only a way to make money, but a way to also make an impact. And there's the resources for days out there about how to do both of those things. And, you can hop on, and I was reading on your site, all the people that you said thank you to. And there's so many, like a lot of people on there that I, resonate with and know about. And it's like, those are all like so many good resources that you can take and really craft your own story more so than any time in history. So you can go on and read and read and read about everybody that's doing stuff and learn and take courses, and you can do it yourself. And we just have this opportunity to not have an opportunity. We can do what we want. We can figure it out. We can take those steps for ourselves. And it's by no means easy, but we just need to seize that opportunity. And I think that's the coolest part about it. For quarter lifers, but really people in general. A lot of people from Live a Great Story. We have, a wide community in age wise. And so I have people that message me from grandmothers talking about their life and how they're so excited about their kids' life, and looking at their stories and the kids' stories and their kids' stories but they're still in theirs, like traveling and doing their thing, to parents that are their kids just left the house for the first time, off to college, and now they have their own house and they're kind of reinventing their life. Or even young kids from 18 or 19 and the aspirations that they have. And we can all, across the whole spectrum, with the power of the internet and just technology and resources, we can do whatever the hell we want. And it's so awesome that we can do that. And it's not easy, but we can do it. And that's the coolest part.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Zach, if people are listening to this and they want to find out more about you or Live a Great Story, or they want to buy a sticker or a badge, a t-shirt, whatever else, which I'm definitely keen to check out too, where can they do so?
So everything is online at liveagreatstory.com. So that's definitely the best place to buy a shirt or any of our reminders. Liveagreatstory.com. The best places to connect with us are on Instagram. It's kind of where we were born. And so we have a great community on there. That's at Live a Great Story. And also the hashtag Live a Great Story is pretty cool. You can see stickers from around the world and what people are doing with them and all the reminders. And then definitely just shoot me an email. My email is zach@liveagreatstory.com. I would love to, hear your story or chat about what you're working on. And, we really like sharing stories about other people. And we have a community that really is hungry for that. So if you think that you're doing something cool or, you're working on something and, just want some people to know about it, or your friend or someone that's building a business or a nonprofit or just making a big difference in the world, like let us know. And we'd love to share that if it's something that works out. And definitely just being a medium for stories is something that we're all about. So say what's up, send me an email or say hi on social media. And it's definitely love to say hi.
Did you remember that answer to the 20s question?
Yeah. So I think something that so I was looking at your thing, once again, your list of people that you would think, and I saw the minimalists on there, and I was thinking even before I saw your list, but I was thinking back to meeting Josh Milburn in 2012, and he was he made such an impact on me with just the whole minimalism idea, and he kind of started me down that path, but one of his biggest things is just add value, and I think that that single phrase, just that's so important across the board, and I think giving away value and just whether it's to the person in line at the cash register or your friend or someone that you meet along the way or anybody, just how can you use your resources to help them out in some way and always walk away from that from those situations adding value instead of taking it away or even staying baseline value. It's really I think it's a really important lesson, and I'm definitely understanding that better now as I grow older even more. But that one key phrase, I think it would be really good for younger 20s or kind of quarter life crisis people.
Cool.
Because it comes back around. That's the cool part is it's kind of cliche, but just giving stuff away and it always comes back around. And I think that's another thing you have to trust, but it's always better to give than to receive. And the more that we do that, selflessly, then it will inevitably come back around in super magical ways that we can't really tell in the moment. But I think it's a great habit to just, how can you help out? How can you give back? I think that's, we're all here together, and sometimes we're down and not feeling too well. And when someone does that to us, it really helps out. So when you're flying high and cruising and doing really well, I think that's a big time to kind of give back and pay it forward.
Yeah, Zach, I want to get on to the final question, but before I do so, I just want to acknowledge you for coming on today and for sharing your great story and for inspiring others at a really young age, doing some really cool things, and for, doing things unconventionally all through your life pretty much, and not being worried about what other people were saying. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. And the final question I have is, what one thing can listeners do this week to start creating their own quarter life comeback?
I think commit. I think making a commitment and one commitment, one commitment at a time, is really important. And to make that comeback when you're down, when you're not doing well, and it's really hard to just kind of, envelop yourself in that. A commitment to growth in some capacity will get that ball rolling. And I think that goes back to my doing things comment. It's you just gotta step. We gotta move forward always, whether it's an inch or you're leaping and bounding forward, committing to just that forward growth in health or in knowledge or in relationships or, personal or whatever it is, it's like committing to that and sticking to it and makes all the following commitments a lot better. So I definitely think that one thing is my suggestion for a quarter life comeback.
I love it, man. Zach Horvath, thanks so much for coming on the Quarter Life Comeback.
Fantastic, Brian. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So there you have it, guys and girls. That wraps up this week's episode of the Quarter Life Comeback podcast. And a big thanks to Zach once again for coming on and sharing a bit about his own quarter life story. If you like this episode, share it around with your friends and social media, and shoot me a tweet at Brian Tier to let me know what some of your biggest takeaways were. For me, it's got to be the fact that you don't need to learn more right now to make a difference already. You just need to get started and see where things take you from there. So how can you use that in your own quarter life comeback story this week? As always, you can get the links and resources we mentioned in this episode at briantier.com/029, and make sure you sign up at quarterlifecomeback.com so that you get all these episodes as soon as they go live. Thanks once again for spending time with me today, and until next week, keep creating your quarter life comeback.
Thanks for listening to the Quarter Life Comeback. Get started today by visiting briantier.com.